Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to the Northern Fells in the stunning Lake District National Park. And today we're going to talk about the 10 commandments. That's a must-do list of things that will keep you safe in the mountains. Number 1, thou shalt check the weather. There are unlimited resources available on the internet for checking the weather. Met Office have quite a detailed weather report. Most people use the MWIS, Mountain Weather Information Service, and you can get an app on your phone for it as well. And the good thing about the MWIS is that you can print a PDF document of the weather report for the area that you're walking in for that day and for the next few days. Things that I'm looking for precipitation. How wet is it going to be? So I've got my waterproofs at the top of my rucksack. I've got the waterproof cover on ready for my rucksack. I might even decide to put some gaiters on. I'm not just checking the weather for that day, I'm looking to see what's happened over the last few days as well. So my route might take me over some small river crossings or a ford, and if it's been raining heavily for the last 2 or 3 days, that river crossing might be impassable and I might end up having to walk miles out of my way. I'm looking to see what the temperature is. So today it's forecast 2 to 3 degrees with a wind chill of -10 on the tops. So I've got extra layers, I've got spare hats and gloves, I've got my thick socks on, I've got my winter pants on. I'm looking to see what the chances of a cloud-free summit are. Because if my plan is to take a group up Snowdon for a Snowdon sunrise walk and it's 99% clouds, then I won't be doing it. We'll find an alternative and put that off to a later date. So I'm looking at the wind as well. I'm actually on the slopes of Blencathra here, looking over at Sharp Edge. That's a possible route down. However, the wind's due to pick up this afternoon, so if I get to the top of Sharp Edge and the winds are sort of 30-40 miles an hour winds, I'm not going down it, I'll find a safer route. Look and see what the sunshine is. If it is sunny, I'll be having sun cream, a sun hat, and again, sunglasses and goggles, because if I get that sun reflecting on snow, if there is a load of snow on the top, then that could lead to snow blindness. Lots of considerations for the weather. The next one is thou shalt plan and prepare. So a bit in line with checking the weather, but this is more in relation to our route. We've checked the route, it's doable in the available daylight. I've informed somebody where I'm going. I've printed off a laminate map of the area. Also got a backup map of that area in my rucksack. And I've downloaded the map on my phone, so even if I don't get a GPS signal, I've still got the map available on my phone as a third backup. My battery pack is charged up to 100%. My phone was charged at 100% before we set off. My head torch and my spare head torch are fully charged and working. I've checked the buttons on them so they won't come on in the rucksack. So if I do need them, they're there ready to go. So the route I'm doing today is actually from an excellent guidebook, but I'm not going to bring that guidebook with me. It's quite a big and heavy one. So I photographed the relevant route description, and that's on my phone if I need it. I've marked a series of waypoints onto my map. A few years ago, I went up to Glenmore Lodge in Scotland for a winter skills course, and we're talking about planning a winter walk. And their stats, it was something like 70% of your time was planning the route, planning the walk, planning the kit, etc. Part of that planning and preparation was I've had a good breakfast. I fueled up, porridge with a banana and honey, a cup of coffee and a pint of water to help keep me hydrated. So I'm at the summit of Bowscale Fell. Little shelter here, little cairn behind me, and there's another cairn over there behind me. So just to make sure I've got both summits, or I've got the correct summit. I don't want to come up here, find out I've been to the wrong summit, and then I'd have to come back up. So while I'm up here, it's just worth touching both piles of stones just to make sure, like I say, I've topped out. There's one or two summits like this in the Lake District where the true high point is a little bit ambiguous. So it's always worth just checking and making sure you touch all the cairns so you don't have to come back up. And the next one is, thou shalt have the right kit. Who's that? So it is a cold winter's day. The weather report is fairly accurate. Everything is frozen up here. It's probably about a 10-15 mile an hour wind, so it's going to be well below freezing at the moment. So I've got extra layers. So I've just put my belay jacket on just to keep me warm. In my rucksack I've got a first aid kit. I've got a 2-person body bag. I do have a 10-person, a 4-person and a 2-person, but it's only me, so I've swapped my 10-person one for a 2-person one. I've got a blizzard bag. I've got a large down jacket. I've got a bag full of hats and gloves, goggles in case we get a spin drift or hail comes in. I've got a head torch and a spare head torch. I've got enough food and drink for the day. I've got a water bottle on the outside of my rucksack and on the inside of my rucksack. I do have a water bladder, but I've opted not to use that today because in these temperatures the water in the pipe is going to freeze. I've got a laminate map that I've tri-folded that can fit into my pocket of the area that we're operating in. I've got that paper map in my rucksack, and I've also downloaded the area onto OS Maps onto my phone, so even if I don't get a phone signal I've still got that available as well. Before we came up I checked some webcams and look at the tops. A little bit of snow around, but not enough to warrant ice axe and crampons, so I brought me micro spikes. There were a little bit of ice when I got out of the car at the car park. Food, drink and enough sugary snacks to keep me warm for the day. Well, because I know it's going to be windy, I've tucked all my straps on my rucksack, folding them all up. So I know a gust of wind is going to whip a strap into my face, and they always get you in the eye. Can be quite painful. So yeah, just a little tip. Just fold your straps away on your rucksack rather than having flapping around and hitting you in the face. Bannerdale Crags up ahead. And the next one, thou must know thy nav. Nav, short for navigation. If you don't know how to read a map, highly recommend learning how to use a map and compass. So today I'm using a 1:25,000 scale. I know the difference between a public right of way, a footpath, a bridle way. I know what the boundaries look like. I can read the contours fairly well. Basically, I've been knowing where I am at all times. I've been doing a thing called tick-off points. So even just walking up on the first bit, I was looking for various tick-off points, bending the path, bridge, change of slope, a bield, which is a shelter, footpath junction. I've told a story before I've set off, so I know what I'm looking for. Subconsciously, I'm ticking them off as I walk along. And if I don't tell that story, I could be walking aimlessly for miles out of my way. But by telling a little bit of a story before I set off, if I don't get to that bend in the path, or I don't hit that bridge, I don't hit the change of terrain, I don't see the bield, I don't see the footpath junction, and then I've gone wrong somewhere. Every change of direction, I'm using my compass to take a half bearing to confirm my direction of travel. So if you're not up to date with navigation, we've got some bronze, silver and gold courses running this year. Depends whereabouts in the country you are, there'll be a course somewhere near you. I highly recommend you book onto a navigation course and learn how to use a map and compass. Mobile phones for navigating should be a last resort. In an emergency, a fully charged phone is your best friend. So yeah, map and compass in the first instance, mobile phone as a backup. A steady little climb on the way up to the top of Bannerdale Crags. There was a footpath junction back there. I took a half bearing to confirm my direction of travel. The mist does keep coming in, making navigation, seeing where you're going, quite difficult. Then I've basically been handrailing this ridge line all the way along. Again, don't be fooled by the cairns. There's a cairn back there, which people might think is the summit. But the real summit is some distance away from the edge. And you can see that if you look at your maps. Over there in the cloud, you've got the mighty Blencathra, also known as Saddleback. But we're heading over there. We've got another summit to get in first before we head up there. So we've just crossed that footpath junction there. Lots of paths going in all directions. And we're heading towards Mungrisdale Common, where the X is. Having the knowledge that the green dotted line is a public right of way, and then that black dotted line is the footpath. If you have that knowledge, you're going to follow the footpath. If you just follow the green dotted line, I've checked it carefully, there's no black dotted line underneath the green dotted line, which means it's a public right of way. Yes, you can walk it, but there's no path on the ground. So the black dotted line means that there is a path on the ground. So just be mindful, if you're heading this way, you need to follow the black dotted line and ignore the green dotted line. So I'm just approaching another tick-off point, just to confirm where I am on the route. And it's this gully that runs down to the bottom of the valley there. My path goes over this gully, and just on the other side of the path it splits in two, and I want to take the left hand fork. Quick half bearing, and I want to be heading up there. So you get the idea about the navigation side of it. If I know where I am at all times, I'm unlikely to get lost. Using a few tactics, I'm orientating the map, taking half bearings, and I'm using tick-off features or tick-off points. And if you haven't got a clue what I'm talking about, I highly recommend you book onto a navigation course. It's not a bad time of year to be doing this. Yes, it's cold, but it means that most of these boggy sections here are frozen and I can simply walk over the top of them. Yeah, one or two places might be a little bit slippy, but it's better than being up to your knees in bog. So there actually is a cairn over there for Longrisedale Common Summit. It's about 100 metres away from the real 633 spot height, which is where I am now. So, touched the cairn and I'm at the spot height. I'm done now, I can say I've done this summit. See here, we've got evidence of an avalanche. You can see at the top where it's all come away. Down the slope, it's all compressed at the bottom. So it's all compressed, so it's not thawed out as much as the rest of it. The next one, thou shalt know thy limits. Where the hell's that coming from? So knowing when to turn back is equally as important as reaching the summit, probably more so. It's a good skill to have. I've turned groups around on a number of walks, much to the disappointment of some of the group, but it's in the interest of their safety and I've no regrets. When I'm doing my introductions to a group at the start of a walk, I ask them one question: is my job to get you to the top of that mountain, or is it to get you all back here safely? And they all answer, to get you back safely. I had a group of doctors taking up Snowdon. We got to the halfway house. I got my wind meter out to take a wind reading, and there were a gust of 42 and it blew two of them off their feet, and that was at the halfway stage. Meanwhile, one of my colleagues was coming up the peak track on the other side with a mate and a dog, and they're basically crawling on their hands and knees. The dog was on a lead. They said it was like a kite, it was floating in the air. So yeah, having that skill of knowing when to turn around is a good skill to have. The mountain's not going anywhere, it's always going to be there. And knowing your skills, knowing your ability, your fitness level, if you're not feeling it, turn around. In the winter mountaineering world, there's a thing called heuristic traps, and there's a mnemonic called facets. And it's where people get themselves into situations because they were familiar with the route, they've done it God knows how many times before and it's always been safe. They've got someone in the group they see as an expert. A lot of them heuristic traps are transferable into the summer mountaineering world as well. I'm just sat here looking up at Sharp Edge, and unbelievably there are still people coming up and down at Sharp Edge. Today I was going to go up Blencathra, or Saddleback as some people know it. I've done it 2 or 3 times before, I don't need to go up. Everything up there is frozen solid. So I've taken the decision not to gain a few more 100 metres elevation, and then to come down a steep section that is potentially covered in ice. There's evidence of an avalanche back there. So yeah, I've made that decision and I'll stick by it. But it's having that skill of knowing when to turn back or stop and alter your route. Always have a plan B, have a plan C. Just remember, that mountain's not going anywhere. It'll still be there next year or the year after, but your safety is paramount. In the mountain rescue world, there's a thing called Be Adventure Smart. 3 questions, and one of the questions you've got to ask yourself is, do I have the necessary skills to do what I'm planning on doing today? And if the answer is no, don't do it. And the next one, thou shalt look after thy fellow walkers. So, we look after each other on the hills, we stop and chat, we say hello, we don't leave anybody on the hills. We help each other when possible. Earlier today, I come across a lady. She admitted she's fairly new to the walking game and she was navigating using a phone. So very subtly, just wanted to check her route. She was doing a similar route to me. Quite happy that she knew where she was, but without her knowing, I was checking on her. Sometimes you see some shocking things on the mountains and you just want to go in all guns blazing. You have to resist that temptation. A couple of times I have stepped in, especially when there's kids involved. I was bringing a group down off Ben Nevis, 3:30 in the afternoon. It was going to be dark in half an hour. And a family of 4 walked past me. Dad, the smallest rucksack in the world, wife and 2 young children. So as soon as I saw the children, I made some inquiries. Are you guys heading up to the top of Ben Nevis? Yes. Do you have a head torch because it's going to be dark in half an hour? No. Do you have any warm clothing for the kids? Because it's about -15 up there at the moment. No. Don't tell me what to do. So, highlighted the danger he's putting his kids in, walked off. Half an hour later, that family walked into the pub where I was with my group, and as the wife walked past me, she whispered, "Thank you." So yeah, look after each other on the hills. The mountain is a better place when we help each other, lend a helping hand to those who need it, just checking on people. Again, you don't need to make it obvious, just be subtle. That was going to be my plan B, back down that valley, back to where the van is. Just make out the cairn at the top of Sotherfell, my 4th and last Wainwright of the day. And the next one is, thou shalt respect the wildlife. Where's that coming from? So wildlife is part of the magic of the mountains. Whether it's a deer or a bird of prey, observe from a distance, but don't disturb. Please don't feed them. And please pick all your rubbish up. Don't leave any food behind. During the spring and summer times, the mountains can be awash with vibrant colours from different flowers. Please do not pick the flowers. Some of them are very rare. Wildlife photographers, use a long lens. Please don't get close and disturb the subject, whatever it is you're photographing. I was at Bempton Cliffs once. There was a photographer shaking the post with a barn owl box at the top of it, trying to get the barn owl to come out so I could photograph it. I have never sworn so much at one person in my life. Please don't do it. So that's the summit of Sotherfell, the last of my Wainwrights today. There is an obvious route back there that leads back towards the van. However, from the guidebook I've got, it says that there's a massive barbed wire fence just as you get into the village. So instead, I'm going to take this little footpath here and pick up another path that takes me down the side of the mountain back to the van. So I've just reached the footpath and follow this all the way back to Mung Grisdale. And back to the van. Just need to be careful on this last section. Slips and trips generally happen at the end of the day. On the way down, people's legs are tired, and also stopping to take in the views and not watching where they're going. And the next one is thou shalt embrace the journey. Reaching the trig, the summit of the mountain, might be the high point of the day. Just spend a little bit of time just to savour the whole journey. Take a flask with you. Sometimes I take a stove and make my own brew. Spend a little bit of time just sat still, listening to everything. Feel the wind on your face. The smells, the sound of the streams. Something special about this place, and it's good for the soul. So just embrace the journey and spend a little time in nature. And the next one, leave nothing but footprints. It's getting a bit boring now, that. Leave nothing but footprints, take nothing but photographs. It's all about the Countryside Code, protecting, enjoying and respecting. If you come across a gate, close it after you. You've got a dog, keep your dog on the lead, pick your dog poo up. Keep away from cattle. Going to the toilet, don't do it near any streams. But the big one for me is pick your litter up. Even better, if you come across other people's litter, pick that up as well. And the last one is thou shalt honour tradition. So whenever I go to Scotland, I have to have haggis. It's the law. It's an unwritten law. I'm convinced if I don't have haggis, bad things will happen. And it's the same when I come to the lakes. I have to stop at T-Bay Services South and have a chicken and mushroom pie. Again, it's the law. So if you stick to these commandments, the mountains will reward you with some unforgettable experiences. Hopefully I'll see you all on the trails. If you have enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you've got your own set of mountain rules, put something in the comments below. And until next time, that's me signing off, and thanks for watching. Oh yes, there's a lot to be said for tradition.